Welcome to Organizational Behavior Unit 5. This is Diana Block, your online instructor, and I have a few things I want to go over with you this week. First of all, this is the mid-quarter week, which this is the week that the mid-quarter surveys are available. It's not exactly halfway through the course, but we do complete the mid-quarter surveys this week, so you'll see that as you're logging into the course. Take a few minutes and give your feedback so that we can incorporate your ideas or thoughts into the next session of this class to make it even better for future students. And if you already like it the way it is, then that information is appreciated as well. But just share your thoughts with us by completing the mid-quarter survey, which also means that your mid-quarter grades will be submitted at the end of this week. They'll be in the system by Sunday midnight. I'm not sure when you guys will actually be able to see them, but I have to enter them by Sunday at midnight. And so the mid-quarter grades that I enter will be for the work that you've done weeks 1 through 4. The week 5 work that's due this weekend won't be included in that. So there will be 4 weeks of work incorporated into that grade, meaning that if the grade isn't quite up to what you were hoping for, you've still got lots of time. So I don't want anyone to get discouraged by the mid-quarter grades. There's plenty of time. The papers are still yet to come. There's still a lot of points left in the course. The majority of the points for the class are still yet to come. So if you're doing great, just keep it up. If it's a little lower than you'd like, you've still got plenty of time to make major improvements, but you will be able to see your mid-quarter grades sometime next week because they'll be entered by Sunday night. Okay, so getting on to this week's work. This week you're going to read chapters 9 and 10. And as you can see in the course content area, the chapter 9 and 10 PowerPoints are there available for you. So both of these chapters are going to talk about groups and teams and information about the structure and purposes of groups and teams. So make sure you do all of that reading for those two chapters, as they both of the chapters really work together. Then you're going to do a discussion question. So we've got discussion for Unit 5, and we'll look at our question here. And some of you may have already started on this, which is great, where you're going to think about a small group that you know of that has or had power. So this could be a group from your past, a Boy Scout troop, a committee at work, a class group even, or just a social group of friends. But there's some group that you are familiar with or have been familiar with that had power, and you're going to talk about whether that group is a formal or informal group. So you'll have to read in the chapters to see what defines a formal versus an informal group. And you'll talk to us about why this particular group was memorable and give us some information about the group, how large it was, the purpose of the group, what were the rules, whether they were formal or informal rules, and some of the roles that were present in that group. So that's our discussion question. Your homework assignment also relates to groups. You've got a case on pages 282 through 284 of your textbook. That's at the end of chapter 10, but the information relates to the concepts in chapters 9 and 10. So you'll read through that case and learn about a group of people that work together at this particular company. It's a tax accounting firm, and you're going to answer the questions at the end of that case. There's 4 questions there. So like for example, the first question is, why is this group a team? So again, what I'm wanting you to do is to take concepts from the reading to explain the questions at the end of the case. So what you'll want to do is, you've done your reading, you're probably going to refer back to page 243 to answer that first question, why is this group a team? On page 243, it talks about what is an actual team. What's our textbook definition of a team? What do they do? What are some types of teams? Page 244 talks about team characteristics and different types of teams, stages of development, etc. So there's plenty of information in your chapter directly to explain to you after you read the article on pages 282 through 284. Take what you've read in the article and see which concepts from the chapter apply to this group of people you just read about. And that's how you'll use information from the chapter to answer the questions at the end of the case. I just want to stress that because I'm seeing that every week, that we aren't always using the concepts from the chapter to explain the questions, and everything should be able to come directly out of the chapter content. The questions go on to ask about characteristics of a team that is covered in chapters 9 and 10. They ask about concepts like groupthink, what makes an effective group leader. So you're going to take the information in chapters 9 and 10 and apply that to the article that you read at the end of chapter 10 for the homework. So that will get you taken care of there. There are some additional learning resources that I think you will find interesting. One of them is a practice quiz that'll just help you practice and be prepared for the next textbook quiz that's, I believe, in week 7. And there's also some websites here that talk about different groups that you may find very interesting, learning about groups. So you've got those 2 items to do this week. You've got discussion, you've got an assignment. There's no quiz this week. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about the paper that is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, the movie analysis paper. If you look in week 1 under the paper instructions, download that document, it gives you a list of movies that are your options for that assignment. So there's a few movies on there, The Firm, Office Space, a couple other things. I highly suggest that you select one of those movies, and if you need to, start now getting a copy of it. If you're in a remote area and you don't have video stores, or you don't have access to an online service where you can get movies. These are very common movies that have been around for a while. You can probably get one of them on Amazon.com if you had to for $5 or $6. But yeah, you may be able to go to the library where you live and check these movies out. They're commonly available movies, but I really strongly urge you to get one of the movies on the list. Here's the reason why. Those movies I've already seen, and I know that they're based on an organization. This class is organizational behavior. So we're just not watching the movie just to be entertained. We want to observe an organization and be able to apply the concepts from our textbook to an actual organization that we're seeing on film. So if you select some other movie because you just don't have access to any of those, you select some other movie, you're taking a chance that it won't be a movie about an organization, and so you're going to have a lot of difficulty applying organizational behavior to the film. So it needs to be a film that is about an organization. And I noticed that every time someone moves off of that list and picks some other movie, they have a lot of difficulty with completing the assignment correctly. Not that it can't be done, but it's going to be much easier for you if you select one of the movies on the list, because the organization is at the front of the film. It's the main character, so to speak, of the film is the company or the organization. So what you're going to do, whether you use one of the movies on my list, which is your best option, or if you select some other movie and approve it with me, it'll have to be approved through me to get something different, because of course I'll have to see the movie myself so that I can see what organizational behavior concepts are in it. So whichever movie you end up selecting, in the movie analysis paper, you're going to write about organizational behavior concepts that you see in that film. In this paper, you do not want to just write about the movie. I get papers every term where people take a movie that's on the list or not on the list and say, this was a really good movie, I enjoyed it, it was a movie about a guy that moved to California, etc., etc., but they are not telling me about organizational behavior. So that is going to create a low score if you just write a paper and tell me about the movie. I've already seen it. I don't need a recap of it. What I want is to see that you can look at the film and say, oh, that is groupthink, or that is an extrinsic motivator. That's an example of telecommuting. So some topics that are in our textbook related to an organization, you can look at this film and identify those concepts in the film. That's what we're looking for. So again, that paper is not due for a couple of weeks. I believe it's week 7 or 8, but look at your syllabus and make sure of when the paper is due. But I wanted to give you a heads up on that a few weeks in advance because, number one, I want to make sure that you have access to one of the movies on the list. So for some of you that aren't near a video store or don't have access to Netflix or something, I want to give you time to locate one of those movies. And secondly, I wanted to give you a heads up and some time to think about it in advance because I want to make sure you understand before we get there what I'm looking for in the paper. So that's all I wanted to talk about this week. You've got your assignments for Unit 5. You will see your midterm scores sometime next week. Please complete the mid-quarter survey this week. And keep in the back of your mind that you've got to locate one of the movies from the list. And again, the paper instructions and the list of movies is in Unit 1. If you didn't download that then, you can do that now. So just kind of in the back of your mind, start getting ready for that. I will be available for office hours as usual tonight, and you can email me anytime with your questions. So enjoy your week and have a great night.